Hi, Sarah here with a process video for you today. I'm mostly using products from Paper, Pen and Plan. As you saw at the beginning, I do have a discount code. I'll leave that in the description below, along with links to the shop and links to the Facebook group, which you can join and just get some inspiration from the other creative team members and myself. So without further ado, I'll talk about what I'm creating today. To begin with, I was going to make a scrapbook layout, and I did start off thinking I'd do a black background, add some jelly plate prints to it, but I do actually completely change what I'm doing as the video goes along, you'll see. But I wanted to leave the whole process in because it's basically me doing really simple techniques using the jelly plate, so I thought it's worth leaving the whole lot in, just so you can see what I do today. Like I say, very basic jelly plate printing. So to begin with, I've got the plate out, I'm adding some paint, and here's my first rookie error right there. I add way too much paint, but not to worry, I just have my journals to hand and just add some to my two journals. This one's the Prima Mixed Media journal. Any product that I use that's in stock over at Paper, Pen and Plan, I will link it below for you in case you want to check it out. And I also use this smaller watercolor one by Prima as well. So I'm just using up some of the paint, that's because it's just way too much on there. It'll just saturate the paper too much, and I won't get any interesting marks on my prints. I like the kind of grungy like lines through it. Look, there's like little bubbles and all sorts. I mean, depending on what you're going for, you could try and get a smoother look, but I wasn't too fussed about that. So as you can see, way too much ink, way too much paint, so I'm just rolling it into my journal, and it just gives your page a starting point so that you're not just staring at a blank page as well. So it's quite good to help create your creativity if you've already got a starting point like that. Next up, I'm using these stencils. These came in the sweet treat box for October. I'm also using this star stamp. I think it's by Heidi Swap. And as you can see, I'm removing the paint from the jelly plate, and then in order not to waste it again, I'm just adding those stars into my journals. And now I'm going to take my first print. I'm just using the roller to make sure that the jelly plate is completely adhered to the paper, and then I gently peel it off, and you get this funky print of it. So it's great fun. It's so addictive once you get going making these prints. So next, I'm going to leave those little bits of paint that are still there. I'm leaving the stencils face that way for now, rolling yellow over the whole lot of it this time. I also managed not to put way too much paint this time, so that's good. The paint I'm using is the Dilutions one, and they face down, so they're really good for getting the paint out of them. They're really easy to use. And now I'm just flipping over the stencil so that you've now got that orange facing up, but it's also giving you an imprint of where they were before. Adding some more stars, again stamping them off onto my journal, and then I'm just trying to get rid of as much paint and different marks onto my journals as possible. And then once I've got most of it off, I'll just clean everything up, and I'm going for my second print. So again, I'm pressing it down, moving the roller over the top of it to make sure that it gets really stuck down to it, and then peeling it away again, and we've got a second layer on top of that first layer where you've got ghosting of the previous utensils on it. And now I'm going in with some of this turquoisey colour. It's beautiful, vibrant colour. In hindsight, I shouldn't have completely coated everything with the colour, because I end up with it just looking quite green because I'd added so much paint over and over the top. But it's with things like this, if it's a new product to you, then the best thing to do is just have a play around, and I do end up really happy with what I come out with in the end, as you'll see. But for now, I'm learning, so I do the same thing again, flip over the utensils, try and find places where they've not been before, doing the same thing again, adding my jelly plate over it again, giving it a good roll so it all connects to the paint underneath and there's no gaps. And then I will peel it again, and you'll see what I mean. It goes quite greeny, so it's not as vibrant, but I will attempt maybe a different colour scheme next time. And finally, and this is the one that I was really happy with, I'm adding white, and the reason I'm doing this is just to lift all the ink off the page, all the leftover ink. So I leave this on to dry a little bit. I still move the utensils around, I think. I'm not sure. I can't remember. Yes, I do. And I'm just going to take another lift off it, and it pulls up all the colour that I'd left on that I'd not cleaned off from the very bottom. And this ends up being, even though this is me just taking a print just to see what would happen, and just to get as much of the paint off the plate as possible, this ends up being my favourite one because it picks up all those little hints of colour from the previous lifts, and yeah, it's just my favourite. So and now I'm just going in and lifting up these tiny little bits of paint that are left into my journals, and I think I'm about done actually playing with the plate. I think next time I will probably do more using some copier paper and maybe some tissue paper so that I can create collage pieces to use at a later date. I mean, I think it's good to have an idea of one thing that you want to accomplish, but then getting all these side sort of little bits done in your journal, little bits on tissue, it's like just lots of fun experimenting. So that is that bit done. As you can see there, I'm just showing you the couple of pages that I've got. So I've got that really beautiful muted one and then that bold one, and then I wasn't sure what to do next. So I walked away from it, came back another day, and at this point I've changed my mind and decided I'm going to make a journal cover. I really like the subtle print on this because in the October box there's lots of lovely kitchen utensil kind of stickers, and there's also quotes that are about family but in like talking about it in terms of food. So that sounded a bit weird. You'll know what I mean when you see the stickers. So I decided that I would make my journal cover doing that. So all I've done is a bit of measuring. I stick down one side of the journal and then wrap it around, because if you just measure it, it always ends up short. You kind of need to let it be stuck down on one side, wrap it round, stick down the other side, and then trim off the excess whenever you're doing this sort of thing where it's a book and it is wrapped around, because otherwise it's always slightly too small. So as you can see, I'm just using some gel medium and making sure it's really well covered, but with quite a thin layer, but covering the entire paper. And I do the same on the book. So I've trimmed it so it's perfectly the same height, but I've left the overhang on the other side that I'm not adding the gel medium to just yet. So now I'm happy with that. It's coated nicely. I'm gonna press it down. It gives me a very small amount of wiggle room, but just enough to make sure it's nicely lined up. And as you can see, I can just nudge it slightly and it will let me do that. But obviously very soon after this will completely dry and it's not going anywhere. Excuse me. And now I'm just going to go on this other side and do the same. Just add my gel medium over the whole of the cover of the TN insert, and then all over the jelly print. And then I'm going to wrap it round to get that glued down, and then just trim off the excess afterwards. And I'm just, as I'm going along, I'm just checking there's none of the gel medium that's sort of oozed out, so it's not sticking the pages together. So now that that's dry, and I'm happy with the position of it, I'm trimming it down, and then I just curve the edges as well to match the shape of the book. You could use a corner chomper. I probably should have done it, would have been a lot smoother and neater, but I wasn't too bothered, to be honest, about little details like that. I don't think it's something you notice in art journaly type things, like if they look perfect or not, to be honest. Now I'm taking the stickers from the October Sweet Treat box and I'm creating my cover. Whatever I do on the front cover, I add something similar or like a smaller piece of it and add it to the back. As you'll see, each time I add something, I'll then try and balance it with the back cover as well. And there's these lovely borders which worked really well. They looked really nice just to go down the side because it is a very soft, pale print. I felt like the boldness of it really worked nicely as a contrast. I love this wooden scalloped edge one, so I add that on over the top. I whenever I do a border, I like to have at least two. Like if it's washi, I like to have two layers, or like with this, I like to layer two up rather than just have one. I just think it makes it look more finished somehow. So as you can see, I'm just flipping it over to trim it from the inside, and now I'm going to use those pieces to add to the back to give it a little bit of continuity. Just trimming that down because I don't want them the same size. I want that one sort of staggered like you would do with washi. And now I'm grabbing a title and I'm doing November all around the edge of this doily that also came in the Sweet Treat box. And I'm just going to use my tape runner to stick that down in the center, and I'm going to add my stickers all around the edge, which will also help secure that doily down. I'm not too fussed about the placing. I think the V might have been a little wonky, but those sort of things don't really bother me. So I just stick them all around the edge. I know that they won't be perfectly even, but all I'll do is add a little sticker between the R and the N, and that's it done. So it doesn't have to be spaced out perfectly. And I also find a sticker for the center as well, which just finishes that off nicely. I do apologise, I'm slightly off camera at the bottom there. I think I probably realise in a second and move it back up. So I've just found that let the good times roll. As I was saying, they're all like phrases that aren't like actual food phrases, if that makes sense, but they're like a play on words. So I thought, even though I've gone for a food theme, there's not really going to be much about food, although there probably will be because it's a journal and that's one of the best parts of my day is having my dinner. But as you can see there, I'm just thinking about putting something in the centre there. I think that just finishes it off perfectly. And I think I am pretty much done. I just add this so that I can add the year in because I don't have what year it is. So I thought I'd just stick that there and then I'll just fill that in and put that it was 2020. And that is it done. So thanks for joining me. Here's a couple of close-ups. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already and you'd like to see more from me. Bye.